Today on Frontline, we confront a crisis that cuts deep into the future of Nigeria, and that is from the education sector. The results of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Examination, Matriculation Examination, UTME, are out, and the numbers are nothing short of alarming. According to reports, over 75% of candidates scored below 200. A stark reminder that beyond the classrooms, beyond the textbooks, and computer-based testing centers, we have we have a good reason to be concerned, because something fast seems to be broken. Only 0.63% of the over 1.9 million candidates scored above 300, a benchmark once regarded as the gateway to competitive university admissions. Meanwhile, thousands didn't show up for the exam, and hundreds are under investigation for malpractices. Amidst the statistics, there seems to be a bigger story that the public seems not to be aware of, and this is why we will be asking the hard questions today, listening and looking out for solutions, as we are joined in the studio by Mr. Toby Joshua Oloyede, who is an educationist, to help us unpack these failures, confront the causes, and explore the way forward for this generation. You're welcome to the studios.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
All right, let's begin. What was your initial reaction to this year's results? When the 2025 UTME results came out, how did you feel about it?
Well, it didn't occur to me as unexpected, because there was already a system that was not designed to produce something good. There was something questionable about the Nigerian educational system as a whole. So it didn't come out to me as something surprising, even though we expected something better.
Oh, okay. Now, looking at the reports that just 0.63% had 300 and above, and before, I know that years back, 300 was like the benchmark. You can't get admission into, most especially all these top federal institutions, if you don't have 300 as a score. Now, what is the reflection of this?
Well, I think this has a lot of implications, and there are different factors also responsible for that. Number one is, I think there is a need for us to get what our students, or let me call them the candidates, perceive education and success to be. So they seem to have redefined success in their own accord. The priority to them is totally different from what we used to call priority in our own days of academic exploration. So that's number one. There has been a kind of shift in definition of what success is to our students. Then number two, I will still call it educational systemic failure. There is something totally questionable about the educational system of this country, which the teachers are a factor in this context. But I wouldn't say the teachers as a whole, rather the nation. No nation will rise above the quality of its teachers, and no educational system will rise above the dispensation that is being put in by the teachers. So when the nature of people that come into the teaching professions and that are allowed are substandard and perfunctory, they are doing it perfunctorily, the job wouldn't be well done. So I can say it's a totality of an hard mixture of factors.
Okay, let's take a look at some of the factors you mentioned. The definition of success, I mean, when the results came out, the wave of responses from a lot of Nigerians was the fact that social media addiction is one of the major factors as to why students fail this exam. How valid are these concerns?
Well, I think this is evident and quite valid, actually. And the reason is that you're going to see that an average teenager, or let me say candidate, even candidates nowadays, prioritize the number of followers they have across their social media platform more than how intentional or vibrant they are at the academic corridor. So it's all about the number of followers. When you see a teenager that has a lot of followers, I lecture in the university. When you see a teenager for God's sake, that has a number of followers, do you believe that these people are kings, even in classroom setting? So, in other words, what they prioritize right now is all about the number of followers I can have by every means possible. So, you thinking, okay, it's all about academic intentionality for these teenagers, it is not. So, the statement is quite valid.
So now, if it looks like the average teenager is more focused on the social media lifestyle, so to speak, and interestingly, they have role models. I mean, you see, there are a lot of young persons out there who are making money online, and then they tell you, "I didn't go to school. Also, school shouldn't be a priority, really." So, how do we fix this?
Well, it is true there are lots of people out there, a lot of teenagers that are actually making this money. But the thing is, it's all about we redefining what is appropriate and what is supposed to be purpose. So money is one thing, fulfillment of a purpose of existence is another thing. So when you are intentional and you understand the reason for your existence, you will know the right route to toe. So it's not about just money. You can make money doing other things while doing things even aright. So it is not just about money making. It's not just about the number of followers you have that can make you achieve greatness and financial breakthrough. So I think the problem is that they prioritize only money, but you can make money while still fulfilling purpose.
Okay, and now let's go to the second one, education systemic failure. I know that there was a time when there was a new policy that to be a teacher, you need to have gone through the education department. I mean, you must have an education certificate. And of course, back in the days, anybody could just walk into the classroom. And well, I want to believe that the education sector is really following this rule. But again, we also have the TRCN. Teachers go through training. There's an exam they have to write to qualify them. If we have all of this, and then it still looks like there's no improvement in the education sector, most especially the secondary education, because year in, year out, for the last 5 years now, there's been a drastic decline in how students pass a UTME, the WAEC examination, NECO examination. It looks like there's a decline every year, and this year is like the worst that has happened ever.
Okay, all right, thank you very much for that, Diola. I think the major issue is not about whether there are laws in place for the appropriateness of sets of people in the educational corridor or not. Okay. The problem is lack of implementation. There are no quality assurance monitoring groups that ensure the implementation. Please, I'm not talking about their existence or non-existence. Are they doing the job? Back in the days, you couldn't enter into the teaching profession without having a teacher's certificate. It's either you've studied a degree in education or you've attended the College of Education. You are certified and qualified to be at the teaching corridor. Unlike what it is nowadays, you just see somebody that is tired of everything, has nothing to do, hungry and tired of life, going to the teaching profession. Then they do the job perfunctorily, and you cannot give what you don't have. When you yourself, you are not even intentional about the career that you have gone into, you are only there for the sake of getting something to eat. You wouldn't do the job well, let alone of attaining mastery to dispense to students. So I think the bulk of the challenge we have here still lies on the government. Still lies on the government. We do not have practical, I said practical, please. This is not words of the paper. They exist. They are all this TRCN. Can you imagine? TRCN certificate. It is not what it used to be. In those days, you hand it. You would work to have it. But now you see an average person as a TRCN certificate, And the way they even come by it, it has no sweat.
Okay, and now let's look at the role of JAMB itself. And thus, in this results, there have been a lot of criticism against JAMB also. Many said that the exams were scheduled for as early as 6:30. Students have to travel long distance, the whole stress. There was even a lot of persons believe that there was already a mental stress. Then there were system breakdown. Some system didn't come up. People made complaints. I mean, some couldn't even submit the exam after they were done. Some couldn't even get a system to use at the end of the day. Now, what exactly is also the role of JAMB in all of this failure?
Thank you very much. Well, I honestly believe that JAMB has a role to play in this, even though this is a reoccurring claim year by year. And if you look at the percentage of people that have less than 200, you cannot say it's JAMB's factor that is outrightly responsible for this. Although JAMB needs to up the game. I personally believe that wherever people register or choose their registration from should be their place of exam. Instead of you traveling many kilometers, going through psychological pain before you could write the exam, it will be quite overwhelming. So we are actually appealing to JAMB's authority, if it's possible, that they find things to do with respect to upgrading the system to bring about adequate convenience for the candidates. Let them write wherever they register. And if at all there needs to be creation of more center, and most of these said accredited centers, they should take concerted efforts to ensure that their systems are practically tested, because a lot of candidates truly complained about that. But I still hold the opinion that the number is not outrightly the responsibility of JAMB.
Okay. Now, looking at the decline in the education sector, who should we hold responsible now?
Well, the facets of people I personally would believe we should hold responsible is the parents. Yes, the parents. You see, unlike those days when parents had what we call intentional parenting, it's not what it is likened to nowadays. You see, parents just believe that they should just pay the tuition fee, the school fees of their children, and that's all. The school is meant to take charge. No school can intentionally help you to train your child to the level of exceptionality, holistic exceptionality, vibrant academic-wise, being sound moral-wise, being good in every aspect. So I believe the parents should be intentional about parenting. And again, I don't just want to say it directly, but I will still have to mention it. It's quite ridiculous and unbelievable that most of these parents aid malpractices during the whole levels of their wards, their children, their candidates. And at the end of the day, when there is nothing like that to do in JAMB, you now see the implication of pushing children to a level that they have not even attained. So we should be intentional. If your child has not got to the level of mastery of something, you do not necessarily need to push them by force. Let them know what they are supposed to know. In the long run, they will be able to defend it anyway, and they will be able to stand anywhere. I have a lot of candidates that I know. As much as we said there was outright failure, I have a lot of candidates I know that had 300 and above. But these people, they are not products of accident or luck. They are products of intentionality, deliberate study, then personal perusal. So I can say the students too, or the candidates too, are also responsible. There is no longer reading culture. There is no longer personal development, individualistic growth. They only want to be spoon-fed by the teachers. A majority of the teachers in our educational system nowadays too, they are questionable. So for any candidate that will be intentional, they will definitely have excellent results. I believe that. So system should be, the parents should be more intentional, and the students themselves should be more intentional.
Yeah, I think this, of course, will further align with the position of the Minister of Education, who said the mass failure was because the examination malpractices are reduced drastically. That was why there was a mass failure during the exam. Now, let's take a look at the curriculums. I mean, I'd said that when the results were out, people had different opinion. Some still believe that Nigeria's educational curriculum are not well suited for the education sector. And then they also believe that, well, this curriculum are really not preparing students enough for this standardized examinations. Do you also hold that opinion?
Well, I agree with that. And to be candid, it's been an overwhelming claim. And the thing is, I think we need to redefine what education is to understand if the Nigerian educational system is really serving its purpose. Education simply means the skill, the knowledge, or any ability that you acquire that will make you to be useful to yourself and useful to the society. In other words, it's all about the knowledge you acquire for you to solve a problem, for you to, for your life to be meaningful as an individual, and for you to be capable of solving the societal problem. It is true. There are many courses that are in our curriculum today that are as good as outliving their purpose of existence, because the reality of the modern day does not have anything to do with them. So our curriculum is obsolete, outdated, and anachronistic truly. So there is a need for us to bring about contents, courses that are relevant to the reality of the modern world. So I so much agree with that.
Okay. Now there's also been a call to scrapping UTME because I mean a lot of persons also believe that it is no longer serving its purpose, and like I mentioned, in the last 5 years we've seen students mass failure. Although we had it, there was this year. And people just feel like, why are people writing, why are students writing UTME when you can just write the WAEC, the NECO, and then the schools can conduct their entrance exam if they want to, and you can go into the school. Do you think scrapping UTME will fix this? Or we are looking at a far bigger picture that is still unclear to a lot of Nigerians?
Well, in my own opinion, if we decide to scrap this very exam, we have just seen the list of the problem we will have at the educational corridor. Scrapping JAMB won't be the solution. Why is it that you will see students with exceptional results in WAEC, in NECO, taking JAMB and having ridiculous results? The reason is that the JAMB platform is like a reality of evaluation. That is when you can really test your true mettle at the corridor of vibrancy. So I'm not of the opinion that they should scrap it. So if they scrap it, students will have to go directly into the university without appropriate evaluation, without appropriate assessment. In the long run, the system will crumble. And in the long run, when the educational system of a nation crumbles, the nation is certainly going to crumble. So we are not doing ourselves a good thing if we decide to scrap it. I think a better choice is even to revamp the educational system and raise the bar. I've always made the claim. The last time I came on this very station, I spoke concerning the implication of reducing the cutoff. Now, I want to believe this year's result is even worse than last year.
Yes.
Because when you reduce the standard, it's something that is psychological. When I raise the bar, what will happen is that anybody that will like to move over that will also be more intentional about increasing their ability. But when you lower it, the same thing, these candidates will never believe they can do more. They have the capacity to do more. So it is very important that we find every means to revamp instead.
Okay. Now, let's also take a look at another issues that call for concern in this UTME result, and that is, it was recorded about 40,000 to 47 candidates were underage The age for registration of JAMB is 16
Okay.
years. They say at 16, that is when you can write the exam. But we know that from 14, students write the exam from 14. So
Okay.
of these 40,000 to 47 candidates, only 1.16% scored high enough to be considered exceptional. Now, does this mean that we are rushing children through education system?
Well, I do not believe it's everybody that wrote JAM that is qualified to have the title children or child, so to say. So this thing is not about we rushing the children, and I don't even believe that there should be a certain age. I personally, please, my opinion, I don't believe that there should be a certain age before you could write the JAM exam. In advanced countries, these are not the kind of arguments they have. It is the job of JAM to verify if a child is competent and readily made to go through the orders of the university through their assessment and evaluation. So if a child is competent at 14, let him or her try it out. If they can. If they are competent at 13, let them try it out. It's not a matter of their rush. In advanced societies, in other countries, you're going to see 18 years old, 19 years old, already with masters. And this is not about just having academic brilliancy alone. They are productive with it. With Nigerian educational system, where even when you enter for a 4-year course, you know the implication. You know the implication. So I don't hold the opinion that children are being rushed. It's not everybody that wrote JAM that is qualified to be called a child. Some of them are even adults. Okay? So it's all about systemic failure and lack of intentionality on the part of individual candidates.
Okay, now there's also a school of thoughts, saying that maybe we should scrap the CBT. It's possible that it's the computer-based test that is creating problem and go back to the days of shading with pencils and all of that. Now, do you think this might also help?
Well, I think I'm fine with that very suggestion. Okay. And the reason is that there are some of these candidates that by default, they didn't have the natural exposure to usage of computer. And let's be fair to them. It is not everybody. Some of us enjoy this privilege right from childhood, but it's not everybody that shares that very advantage. Some, we can see rural areas, moribund societies, and they will still have to take the JAM, but they are not familiar with the computer-based. So if they are given the privilege to choose between paper-based type of exam and the computer-based, I think that is likely to increase the chances of we having better results. So they should be given the privilege. However, that is not to say we should reduce ourselves to not getting accustomed to the development and the reality of the modern world. Yeah. So an average candidate should be computer savvy.
Okay. And now, what other reforms will you be proposing to JAMB and, of course, maybe the Ministry of Education to avoid a repeat of this? Because it just feels like year in, year out, we talk about mass failure, and then the next year it becomes worse. And then the next year it becomes worse. So what reforms would you propose to them to give a lasting solution to this?
Wow. I love being asked this very question because it happens like, I often feel like I should have the capacity to be in charge of the education of this country. You see, the number one problem is there is no nation that can rise above the quality of its teachers. You cannot allow anybody to just be at the corridor of educational exploration. You are talking about people that will determine the leaders of tomorrow. And you are putting people that are perfunctory, have baked in knowledge at the corridor of power. I call it corridor of power, yes. Yeah. So the first thing is revisit the quality of teachers' lifestyle. 2, ensure that the sets of people that will be coming into the teaching profession are qualified, certified, and intentional set of people who love the profession. Then another factor is, I think we need practical, please, practical, not theoretical, not on the paper, practical quality assurance monitoring group that will be intentional about ensuring that, okay, everything that is put in the curriculum and everything that is expected, it is expected to produce, is being produced. If there are factors not helping it, then they should obliterate them. So there should be a monitoring group that will be responsible for that. And another factor that I think we should consider, again, are the parents. The school cannot teach your child the same way you will teach your child. My father, during our days, would tell us, you will not write you will not write NECO in my house. You know, if you failed WAEC, you had alternative of NECO. No, we didn't used to write NECO in our house. And you knew the implication. When we failed, my father would say, you go back to the same school where you finished from. You will resume as a student and wait a year after. That's with your junior. And wait a year after, then take.
Right.
So because we didn't want that, we were so intentional. So I made my WAEC once. My younger sister made it once. My elder brother made it once. Because they had been conditioned to believe that we had no alternative. So the same thing. But when you are the one aiding and abetting malpractices as parent, then you suddenly expect your children to be intentional about their life academically. It doesn't work that way. So children learn mostly by observing.
Okay. Just before we go, now when we've put all of this in place, the Ministry of Education has done their part, the schools have done their part, the parents are trying to do their part also. How then do we begin to reshape the societal attitude or disposition to undermining academic success?
That's a very powerful question, but I think we should still take it from the standpoint of letting people understand purpose above money. Okay, see, an average Nigerian today believes that in as much as there is money, that is what matters. Listen, it's because you are poor. That's why you make a statement like that. When you are among people who money is not their problem, you have money, I have money, he has money, everybody has money. The next question is, what else can you offer? You are as empty as anything apart from your money. So your money is only valuable among the poor people. So when you see people prioritize it's money that matters, go and observe it very well. They are coming from a wretched background where money is everything that they are looking for. The rich people look more than money. So the first thing is we need to redefine purpose. In the process of you fulfilling your purpose and being intentional about chasing it, money will come by default. Because it is in the process of fulfilling purpose, you have problem solving, which is one of the strategies through which money flows. So you need to even understand how money is being made. So solve problem, and in solving your problem, you're fulfilling your purpose. And money will be a compensation. So let's redefine our purpose of existence. Then our society will be a better place. It wouldn't all be about money and the number of followers you have on social media, you know.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Oloyede, for coming to the studios this morning.
I am glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
All righty. So we've heard it. The 2025 UTME results are not just numbers. They are a wake-up call to us as a nation. Behind every failing score is a child with a dream, a parent with a hope, and a nation whose future depends on what we choose to do next. So as stakeholders, you should begin to reflect on what are the actions to take to ensure that the future of Nigeria is no longer bleaker, because if we keep producing candidates who can't even get admitted into university in the first place, then our problem-solving skill as a nation begins to decline drastically. And that's the much we'll take on the interview segment today. Do join us again tomorrow as we bring to you another exciting topic as we deliberate further on societal issues in Nigeria. I am Adiola Adegoke. Do have a fantastic day.